We're here today with Paul Binks, who is the president and CEO of MRC Polymers here in Chicago. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So tell me, you were green before green was in. How long has MRC Polymers been in business?
33 years.
33 years, wow.
Dan started recycling right out of college.
And
Sure.
give me a sense for what you do, for those of us that don't know exactly what you do.
We call it upcycling. We basically take recycled plastic, recompound it back up to the form it was in from the virgin guys, and then we can use it in high-end products like automotive, air
So we're
conditioning
talking
units.
about Coke bottles and water bottles and things like
We
that?
can do those as well, yep. We do engineering resins, things like polycarbonate. We take compact discs, for instance, take the surface back off, take the metal off, turn that back into a product. One of our big volumes is post-consumer bumpers. If you were unfortunate
Off
enough
of a car?
Yep.
Okay.
If you were unfortunate enough to have an accident, your bumper would probably be in my plant within 24 hours.
Okay, so
we collect them all over North America.
you collect that material, comes to a plant here in Chicago.
Yep.
You crush it up, or
Yep. We grind it up, and then we have a proprietary way we take the surface paint off using just water, no chemicals, and then recompound that back up, add the additives back in, and turn it back into a virgin type product.
What's the timeline? So from the time I get hit here on Rush Street,
Interesting
my
question.
bumper falls off, it comes to your plant. When's it back in Detroit getting on another car?
From the point it's in my plant till it's back on a car is about 20 days.
Wow, that is
Yeah, it's fascinating.
more than shorter time than you would even imagine, right? I mean, it's one of those things. Give me a sense for what kind of industries use recycled polymers now.
It's pretty widespread. The automotive industry for us was our first real big push because they were such a high-end industry. They have strict tolerances, and our idea was if we can match their needs and get certified, then we're playing with the big boys. We don't think of other recyclers as our competition in that field. We think of Dow, GE, BASF back against the chemical companies. But now recycling is getting more and more. People want to use it for the fact that it does have recycled content. The construction industry is getting big with the LEED certification type stuff. So air conditioning units, anything like that, you can use recycled material. You do get LEED credit. Consumer is a little tough, except for the bottle-to-bottle that you mentioned. Specific things like that, where it's going back into the same application, is very popular. But things like
So the Coke bottle I've got today may be back in my hand tomorrow as another Coke bottle?
Yep, absolutely.
How many times can you recycle that?
That's interesting. It's probably somewhere in the order of 100 times.
Really?
Before it finally falls apart.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a very robust resin. And what happens there is they come in from the, we call them the MRFs that get picked up in the recycle at the curbside. They come into our plant in a bale. We'll grind them up again, sort them, make sure we only have PVC, and then we run them through, a proprietary process of ours that washes off the labels, the dirt, takes the caps, separates them. We actually use the caps and labels in another product back into the auto industry. And the PET in the bottle itself goes back to somebody who does a final sterilization step, and then it goes into Coke.
Wow. So who's your biggest end user right now? Is it not a necessarily company, but what industry is?
It's still automotive.
Is
We're
it
probably
okay?
about 70% automotive still, just because we've been there so long.
Lots of different parts?
Yes, everything, interior parts, exterior parts,
Bumpers?
bumpers. We go back into bumpers sometimes.
What's the vision for the future? You guys were green before it was popular. Where are we going with the technology that allows us to reuse rather than landfill this stuff?
It's interesting. We have just decided probably in the last 12 months that over the 30 years, we've developed a lot of technology, and we've always just used it ourselves. And the shift that we're making now is we've decided, because there's so many people want to get out of landfill and they want to solve their waste problems, we're having them bring those problems to us, and we have a group that works on solving that problem for you. And it can be that we'll handle it for you, we'll process the material, or we'll sell you the technology to do it or teach you how to do it. So there's all the different models. And it's been really well received. We've probably only started pushing it publicly for 6 months, and we've got 3 really large applications already.
Now, is there a cost advantage to using recycled versus virgin materials?
Yeah, in most cases there is. A lot of that was the other area that people had a myth. mostly because of our friends in the chemical industry. They tried to say that recycle was more expensive and they were going to have to do more work, etc. When we first started, because recycle wasn't a selling point, we had to know how to come in about 20% below the virgin guys just to get market share.
Wow. And so that's shifted, but there's still that cost advantage
Yep,
now.
absolutely.
Do you ever have a problem in getting materials? We are
limited, yes, absolutely. That is probably one of the things that the industry is going to run into. Internally, we will never launch a product unless we have a very good locked up source, like our bumpers, for instance. But yeah, then in the overall recycling market, there is definitely a shortage. In fact, the one that we were talking about, the bottles, there's still not enough recycling going on. We can handle a lot more resin if it was available.
And we as consumers need to just make an effort to actually
Absolutely.
have that happen, right?
Absolutely. There's a huge difference between the U.S., for instance, and even Canada. The recycling rate in Canada is something like 3 times what it is in the U.S.
Are we just lazy? Is that what it is?
I don't know what we've debated what it is for a long time. We hope that actually as more people understand that it can be used for something, that they'll get more into recycling. I think for a long time the recycling industry suffered because people started collecting long before there was a really good use for the material, so people just thought it was a waste of time and stopped doing it. One of the reasons we built the bottle-to-bottle plant here in Chicago is we want to help the Chicago recycling rate by, as soon as it's actually finished for the public, we're going to have public tours of the plant. And if kids start seeing that the bottles go and they come into something good, they're going to bug mom and dad to put it in the recycle bin.
Well, cool. So where do you drive your passion? Where does the recycle guy get his passion from?
It's interesting. I grew up on a farm, just a family fun farm, and I've always loved mechanical type stuff. So even though I have an engineering degree in chemistry, I just love the mechanics of things. And in our industry, we build our own equipment. It's one of a kind. We're always solving strange problems. So that's probably the biggest thing that gets me to go to work every day.
So you're a frustrated inventor, right?
Yeah,
All
exactly.
right, hey.
Exactly.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for making us a little bit more cognizant of why we should recycle. And I'll think about that. So the Coke I'm drinking today could be the Coke I'm drinking next week as well, right, man? Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Binks, President and CEO, MRC Polymers here in Chicago. Thank you so much, Paul, for CEO IntroNet. I'm John Page. Thank you.